from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Evidently, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASIS strike.
You have done your work and put us to the wall. We are not your slaves. I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Evidently, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASIS strike.
You have done your work and put us to the wall. We are not your slaves. I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.
Good morning and welcome to Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. It's the 27th day of March 2024 and we're reaching the business end of the month of March. Looking forward to the new month. My name is Anthony Momodu saying thank you for giving us a chance to be part of your lives this beautiful morning. I'm not alone. I've got the Queen by my side.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Anthony.
How are you doing?
I'm doing super amazing.
Yeah, we're the week of the International Week of those struggling against racism and racial discrimination. For you, do you think it's something worth celebrating?
Yeah. Yes, I think it's something worth celebrating, not per se celebrating, but remembering, and putting in the work to ensure that we end racism at all levels. So it is, because to an extent you might not know the long-time effects of it, this stigmatization and racism that we talk about. So it's something that we should bring to the consciousness of people yearly. It should even not just be done
maybe
yearly.
monthly.
I think maybe monthly, but but the reminder rather. Should be constantly out there, to end racism and, talk about it. We need to have conversations around these topics. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think those in the sporting arena. Okay, sorry.
I just want to add, if you've ever, experienced not particularly racism, but some sort of stigmatization of some sort, or stereotype, some sort, how was experience and all of that.
I did. This reminds me when I went to Vietnam. That was in January 2023. I was in Vietnam from January to August. Yeah, it's crazy. Once because of the color of your skin, there's this look every time you walk into any establishment. First of all, there's this kind of fear. They look at you differently. At times, you get this warm welcome, like when you're in Nigeria, you see the Europeans in, everybody seems to want to love them. At times you get it, but most times, even at times, the way they talk, you could tell they're talking about you. There's that look. And when you walk into a store, there's this extra glare by the security man looking at you intensely to see if you're about to steal something.
Yes.
And it's very, discomforting.
Yes, especially for the black man.
Yeah.
I don't know at other, races, but particularly for the black man, I don't know, here, when we have the whites or people from other races, we seem to appreciate them, celebrate them, we treat them differently. Yes.
Better than our own skin color.
Our own selves. But I think we should begin to look at people beyond skin color, the color of their skin, or the race, or where they come from. Yes, ethnicity. So we get that a lot. There's this extra glare at you, an eyebrow is raised to your authenticity because you're a black man. But I believe this is why the awareness is created, so that we can stop that and end racism at all levels.
All right, the United Nations knows it very well. That's what they have put from the 21st to the 27th of March every year for us to celebrate it. But I must tell you that in the sporting arena, we're doing much better than the rest of the world, because in sport, every football match in the English Premier League, there's this tradition where every player takes a knee, and it's done to kick out racism against because that's where you see it more prevalent in football, where players from African descent, once they're playing, you see the whites throwing bananas at them, mocking them. It's very painful. There's a particular player in Spain from Brazil, Vinicius Junior. He has suffered the most racial abuse in Spain currently. And 2 days back, while he was at a press conference when Brazil was supposed to take on Spain, he was crying when they asked him how does he handle racism. And I think the European nations are not doing too well in terms of handling it, because the fines they give this club side and the supporters, it's too small to change. So I think a heavier punishment would do the trick. And so we hope, like you rightly pointed out, we hope those involved, those in the authorities, would do much better to help us fight that. All right, we've got some very interesting things playing out in Africa's biggest black nation, Nigeria, and we'll be taking you through them so that you get well informed before we give you taste and texture and other things in between. Let's begin with a very interesting issue. We know that Nigeria has been suffering in terms of power supply. Electricity across Nigeria has been truly very poor, especially at this time when the weather is not so friendly. But the good news is that the European Union, in continuation of its commitment to supporting the federal government in providing clean, affordable and sustainable energy for all, has introduced 2 new projects worth €9 million in Nigeria's energy sector. The EU disclosed this in Abuja during the project inception workshop organized in partnership with the federal government and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Nigeria, with a population of over 200 million, had an electricity consumption per capita of 147 kilowatts hours in 2022, while South Africa, with a population of over 60 million, boasted of electricity consumption per capita of 3,566 kilowatt hours during the same period, according to the World Bank. What does this tell us in terms of how poor Nigeria's electricity supply and consumption is? We've got 200 million and we barely have enough. And South Africa, that just has 60, is consuming far better.
I think it has to do with structure. Nigeria's structure, leadership, and all of that, allocations to electricity. And we must also put, rather, before the prevalence of, how pronounced the prevalence of insecurity is, we had challenges with lights, we had challenges with electricity. Businesses have been crying for a very long time. So I'm not going to attribute it entirely to insecurity, because we hear of vandals, cable vandals and all of that, transformer vandals and all of that. But that aside, I think the Minister of Power and relevant stakeholders need to put in the work and see to it that we're not, I can't categorically say that we're making progress in the area of electricity.
Sure, we're not, and we hope that with this intervention by the European Union, things will get better in the coming days and weeks and months. All right, it's now time for us to just not bore you too much. Let's give you something that has to do with breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You get to find out as we give you some slides of our taste and texture.
Hello and welcome to another mouth-watering episode on Taste and Texture. I'm Fatimi Abumar. Today we'll be trying the sweet potato mush pie. With this recipe, be ready to get swept off your feet. Sweet potato is a staple food in various parts of the world since ancient times. They are known for their copper-colored skin and vibrant orange flesh. There are hundreds of varieties present worldwide, with different colors such as white, cream, yellow, reddish purple, and deep purple. As its name itself suggests, sweet potatoes have a naturally sweet flavor. The ingredients needed are 1 large sweet potato, 2 large eggs, onions and tomatoes, cube seasoning, 1 teaspoon sugar, mixed spice and garlic. And now let's make it. Cook and peel the sweet potato. Chop and add a little water with Scotch bonnet to blend it. Add the sugar and seasoning cube to the batter. In a bowl, slice the tomatoes, grind Scotch bonnet and slice onions. Crack the eggs and mix spices. Curry, seasoning cube, whisk. Grease the baking tray with stiff butter. Pour the egg mixture. Pour the potato batter and use spatula to smoothen it. Bake and enjoy. Let's take a look at the nutritional profile of sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are a rich source of vitamin A in the form of beta-carotene, vitamin B6, vitamin 6, potassium, fibers, minerals, iron, calcium, selenium, antioxidants. And now to the health benefits of sweet potato. 1. Sweet potatoes are rich in vitamin A in the form of beta-carotene. It's an antioxidant that is generally present in the bright orange-fleshed vegetables. Beta-carotene is converted to vitamin A in your body and used to form light-detecting receptors inside your eyes. 2. Helps in good digestion. Sweet potatoes are rich in dietary fiber and are also known for improving gut health and digestion. The high fiber content in sweet potatoes can also help in preventing constipation in both children and adults. It also contains a high amount of cholesterol, and that has a protective effect on the digestive system. It may help to prevent and manage duodenal and gastric ulcer. Help to manage diabetes. Sweet potatoes is naturally high in sugar and starch. However, sweet potatoes have a low glycemic index. The low glycemic index means that sweet potatoes release sugar into the bloodstream slowly, unlike other starchy foods. The steady phase to mix sugar in the blood helps to control and raise blood sugar level. The fiber in sweet potatoes are also beneficial to manage diabetes. Help to prevent risk of cancer. Various studies have shown that purple-fleshed sweet potatoes are essential to fight cancer, help to minimize the risk of heart health. Various studies suggest that fibers and antioxidants present in sweet potatoes help decrease the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Other scientific studies have shown high level of anthocyanin in the purple sweet potato help lower the chances of coronary diseases. That's all for now. See you next time, same time for another scrumptious episode on Taste and Texture. I remain your host, Fatimi Abu Umar.
All right, you've got something delicious there, sweet potatoes and the advantages, blood levels and helping prevent cancer. It tells you how key this menu is this morning. It means that you can take it either in the morning, afternoon, or for dinner. But it looks very yummy.
And it looks light to an extent.
Yeah, it looks light,
so I think it should go best for breakfast.
And not for lunch.
Yeah, and I like the pack of vegetables in it. I didn't see so much of it, but I can see tomatoes, onions, and all of that.
I couldn't see the main guy talking about the meat.
Oh, you're a meat freak.
But it's a bit like I could eat a cow if you give me the chance.
I really don't think I love meat that much.
Serious?
Okay, I do, but I think I'd rather do fish. Because of the health benefits,
Right.
And they say when you are approaching a certain age to cut down on meat, but
I don't think I don't know what that is. But look at snail. I don't know why people don't talk about snail.
Oh,
snail for me is the best form of meat you can
yes,
ever
snail.
have.
We don't talk about how nutritious and how packed with
like the way
so much,
you're stressing. It makes me
benefits.
The aroma of snail.
I love snails, but you know the reason why people don't go for snails.
Okay, I thought you said love snails. I was wondering if there's a new form of snail.
Okay. No, I love snails. Snails, as protein.
Okay.
So I think the reason why people don't go for snails is because snails are
expensive?
not. Yeah, they're expensive and they're not regular. They're not readily available. Just a select few restaurants that you find snails, and they're usually on the high sides compared to fish, meat, and other forms of protein. Well, I think this is a call as well for people. If you own a food restaurant or to inculcate, snails, please, for Anthony, especially.
All right, we've got some other
stories.
Yes. Some big stories.
Yes, the private sector foresees that, there'll be massive job cuts due to inflation
After
rate.
eating some chocolate fries, you're giving them this story.
Yes, sadly.
Yeah.
So there's foreseen that there'll be massive job cuts because of the high inflation rates. And the hike in Nigeria's monetary policy rate, also known as interest rate, from 22.75% by the Central Bank of Nigeria will further accelerate the country's inflation. This is what they're saying, and it will lead to massive job cuts across the country. Private sectors operators stated on Tuesday. They made this known on Tuesday. So I don't know if we have the graphics so that we can, show that what these people are talking about. What do you make of?
I think it's a very, very disturbing news because we thought, okay, the Yemi Kadoso's led CBN was going to do everything possible to, reduce the interest rates, but it's taking them forever. We even had the presidency inaugurate an advisory committee led by other big stakeholders in Nigeria's economy, Melus and Dangote. So we thought these people were going to give a quick fix to the high inflation rate and also help cut the fact that other international organizations were leaving Nigeria. But it's so sad to see that things are getting worse. And with this prediction and this increase of interest rate by the CBN, it tells us we're heading for even tougher times. And the question is, how long can Nigerians withstand this hardship, this economic hardship, this continuous hike in inflation rate? Companies are leaving the country because of the harsh economic situation, and the insecurity put together is not making it any easier for Nigerian businesses. The Manufacturing Association of Nigeria have continually cried out that they need subventions to be able to continue production. And as long as we don't produce, and the few companies we have are leaving, it means more tougher times than we expect, and that's not too good for a country like Nigeria.
We really hope. I'm tired of sitting down here every morning saying that we pray and we hope that things get better, and a lot of things are structured the way they're supposed to. Everybody does his job, and then talking about inflation, it's sad to see multinationals leave the country and see that, the very few businesses that produce some of the things that we use here do not even export, and, because of now we're talking about the challenges that they face, electricity, sometimes the policies are not even favorable, double taxation and all of that, and insecurity.
Business is really not
it's
good
not
enough.
Exactly, and then the insecurity, the high
exchange rate also is not helping matters.
It's not helping matters. So now it's a call, particularly to everybody that is responsible to do their duty, do your due diligence, so that Nigeria can thrive and get out of the woods.
I think we have some business news for you so that you can get informed as regards the big talking points in the business industry. Then when we return back from that, hopefully we'll have some more big stories to share with you. And the Global AM News is waiting in the wings so that we'll inform you more as regards what's happening in Africa's biggest black nation, Nigeria. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to Business Reports on Global Morning. The insurance industry of Nigeria has sustained its progressive trend of positive market performance at the close of 2023 fourth quarter, recording a milestone growth to close at 1.003 trillion naira, representing about 27% growth compared to 790 billion naira recorded in 2022. The non-life business accounted for 61.3% of all premium written during the year, while the life segment contributed 38.7%, valued at 388.1 billion naira. This is contained in the report released by the Statistics Department, Directorate of Research and Statistics and Publication. The market also recorded a retention of about 87.7% for life businesses, just about 54% for non-life, while the aggregate market average retention stood at 66.7% during the same period. Nigerian board money supply has surged to a new historic high of 95.56 trillion naira as of February 2024, despite the hawkish tightening stance of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting. This figure represents a staggering of 79.29% surge from the 53.3 trillion naira recorded in February 2023, showcasing a substantial year-on-year growth of 42.26 trillion naira. Moreover, compared to the preceding month of January 2024, which stood at 93.72 trillion naira, this represents a 1.96% increase, equivalent to 1.84 trillion naira. The Central Bank of Nigeria reviewed this data in its latest money and credit statistics. The Central Bank of Nigeria has issued a circular to Bureau de Change operators, informing them that it has sold $10,000 to each BDC at a rate of 1,251 naira to a dollar. Each BDC is instructed to sell the dollar to eligible customer at the rate not exceeding 1.5% above the purchase price. This confirmed the resumption of dollar sales to BDC operators after a prolonged period of suspension by the Central Bank of Nigeria in 2021. The ban was lifted earlier in the year following the revocation of licenses of over 4,173 BDC operators in February. However, the exchange rate fell below 1,400 per dollar in the parallel market after the closing at 1,431 naira to a dollar, with the reference NAFEX rate at 1,382 naira to a dollar. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy announced that the Japanese International Cooperation Agency is allocating 15 billion yen, which is approximately $99.1 million, to enhance food security in Nigeria by supporting its agricultural sector. The minister made this disclosure in the statement following the conclusion of the fourth FEC meeting of the year. The minister described the investment as free money, highlighting its 10-year moratorium and minimal 1% interest rate, which it believes will not strain the nation's financial resources. Kikelomo Okeri, Global Television News.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Africa's Finest Breakfast Show, Global Morning on Global Television, and we're back with a little bit of an update as regards the Kuruga school children that were released after abduction by some bandits. So the big story coming out tells us that 6 pupils of the Kuruga school freed from kidnappers then are receiving treatment in Kaduna. The military said yesterday 131 of their mates were handed over to the state government, and General Officer Commanding 1st Mechanized Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Meyi Renso Saraso, handed the children over to the Governor Obasani on behalf of the Defense Headquarters. But the story is that 6 of them, he said the military used kinetic and non-kinetic methods in securing their release from the kidnappers in Zamfara State, where they were taken. He confirmed that 6 pupils, 1 male and 5 females, are on admission at the Dalet Barracks Military Hospital. The children spent 16 days with their abductors. They were made to trek a long distance from Kaduna to neighboring Zamfara. The release of the kidnapped children were secured without ransom payment, the federal government said. Let's look at this. I don't know if to say it's good news, bad news. Federal government still denying that ransom was paid, and the military says they use kinetic and non-kinetic approach. And the issue is, if they used a non-kinetic, they didn't tell us, okay, X number of terrorists or bandits were killed or one was caught. And when they say they use non-kinetic, is the non-kinetic referring to the ransom paid So it's a very mixed
now,
reports,
like, you know, like I'm going to reiterate, like I said yesterday when I and we were on the show, for the families, I'm speaking from a place of family member or relative to, yes, to maybe possibly a kidnapped victim. Of course, I don't pray that anybody I know or my loved ones be kidnapped. Yes, but what I'm saying is, at that point, if you're a family member or a relative to anybody that is kidnapped or has been abducted, let me use that word, all that matters to you is their freedom. Is their freedom, their release. Let this person come out of, you know, captivity. But as a government, you know, we cannot continue. We've had cases where ransom were paid, and you know, it was in the open that ransom were paid for certain people to be released, you know. But we cannot continue. I like the fact that, I don't know if ransom was paid, but I like the fact that they're not openly admitting to the fact that ransom was paid, you know. But how, if truly ransom was paid, how sustainable is it? So that we don't begin to entice people, you know, people who would want to now see this as a money-making scheme and say, okay, because, you know, so and so person did this and, you know, they were able to get away with it, you know, they would want to go into it and see it as lucrative. Okay, yes, the government will negotiate. Of course, because of our time, this is a topic that we want to, you know, dwell on after the news. We see that we have the news, but I don't think it is, you know, sustainable to continue to negotiate with, you know.
But do you agree that it was just not
I totally do not agree, and that's why that statement was made, kinetic and non-kinetic. So to an extent, they must have come to a compromise. Yes, exactly, or an agreement, some sort of.
All right, so time will tell us if how kinetic or non-kinetic it was. It's now time for us to go for a very quick break where the Global AM News will be hitting you live and direct, so you get details as regards what's playing out in Nigeria and across the world. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. We are live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodu. Hello and welcome. President Bola Tinubu approved the renewed Hope Infrastructure Development Fund to bridge the country's $25 billion per annum infrastructure funding gap. The new initiative will be domiciled in the presidency. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, told journalists after the Federal Executive Council meeting at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Idris said the fund became necessary given Nigeria's current infrastructure gap, requiring $878 billion to bridge between 2016 and 2040. There is a study that was made that said Nigeria will require about $878 billion between 2016 and 2040 to bridge its infrastructural deficit. The federal government has hailed foreign services officers for launching the Academy of International Affairs. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated that the Academy has the potential to make improvements in the management of Nigeria's foreign policy. Shettima, who spoke at the inauguration of the Academy in Abuja, added that it emerged at a period when it was most needed. Shettima told foreign service officers that Nigeria needed their input in addressing some of the challenges it is facing. The federal government has concluded plans to train some newly recruited personnel of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory as the School Safety Protection Squad to halt cases of abduction of school children from their schools. The commander of the National Safe Schools Response Coordination Center of the NSCDC, Hamid Abodurin, disclosed this just as the Defense Headquarters said troops rescued 137 abducted pupils of the LEA Primary School and the Government Secondary School in Kuriga in the Chicken local government area of Kaduna within Zamfara State. This came as President Bola Tinubu welcomed the news of the release of the Kuriga school children as well as the release of the pupils of the Sangaya School in Sokoto State, commending all the parties involved in the feat for their valiant efforts. The federal government has said that no ransom was paid to free the pupils who were abducted from the Kuriga village in Kaduna State. This was reviewed by Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, during the Federal Executive Council meeting presided by President Bola Tinubu at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The minister applauded President Tinubu, the National Security Advisor, the service chiefs, and everyone else who made a significant contribution to the kids' release. The minister added that President Tinubu has directed security services to step up their efforts to put an end to the nationwide kidnapping crisis. The Leprosy Mission Nigeria, TLMN, in an effort to provide sustainable psychological support and referral services to communities experiencing distress, have commissioned a toll-free call center to address the crucial need for accessibility of mental health services. Fauzia Lukman reports.
In an event that sees the network of support from all stakeholders in the disability community, the Leprosy Mission Nigeria commissions a call center to assess critical needs to mental services for persons with disabilities in psychological distress. While commissioning the center, the Senior Special Advisor to the President on Special Needs and Equal Opportunities, Honorable Mohammed Abba Isa, says the center represents a beacon of hope to individuals often marginalized and overlooked.
The establishment of this call center represents a beacon of hope for those often find themselves marginalized and overlooked. It is a testament to our commitment to ensuring that every citizen, regardless of their background or circumstance, has access to the support and resources they need to treat. But today we say no more. Today we take a stand against stigma and discrimination. We affirm our belief in the inherent dignity and worth of every human being. And we declare our unwavering commitment to building a society where everyone has the opportunity to live a life of dignity and fulfillment.
The Leprosy Mission Nigeria TLMN National Director, Dr. Sunday Udo, speaks on the crucial aspect of overall well-being as other stakeholders appreciate the inclusivity.
As we all know, mental health is a crucial aspect of overall well-being. It is a facet of healthcare that unjustly receives less attention than it deserves in this country. in fact globally, but worse in Nigeria, particularly when it comes to those with disabilities. Combating the stigma and discrimination associated with mental health has been an ongoing battle, and today we stand strong to fight that fight.
In the NTDs, we know the importance of mental health, and that is the more reason why we are developing or reviewing our NTD master plan. Mental health was captured and incorporated. I want to assure you that the NTDs program will collaborate effectively with you and support you all the way. Thank you and God bless you.
Today is a great day to be a person with disabilities because the journey of 1,000 miles has just commenced. What do I mean and why are we here? For the first time in the history of the disability community, we have a hotline, that's what I choose to call it, a hotline where we can call in and have our well-being, our mental issues, because you see, one of the major issues of disabilities that is not addressed in this country is the post-traumatic stress disorder of disabilities, especially for those of us who acquired disabilities, who were not born with a disability. Now we have a number 0800 005060 that you can call and then have some level of a high level of interaction that can tell you what the challenge you're facing is, how you can navigate through the challenge, and what the future can hold for you with that challenge.
Psychological distress knows no boundaries as it affects anyone regardless of age, gender, or socio-economic status. Fauzia Lukman, Global TV News.
Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State has approved the appointment of 168 assistants and 104 board members for the 15 agencies and commissions of the state. This is contained in a statement issued by the Secretary to the Borno State government, Alhaji Bukar Tijani in Maiduguri. He said the appointees comprised of 9 senior technical assistants, 81 senior special assistants, and 78 special assistants. The SSG also listed 104 others as chairmen and board members of 15 agencies and commissions. The appointment, the SSG said, was done based on powers conferred on the governor by the provisions of Section 208, subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. You're watching AM News coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TVNG and all the handles now showing on your screen. When AM News returns, CBN directs BDCs to sell dollar at 1,269. These and other stories coming right after this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. This is Global Television bringing you live broadcast of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. On the foreign scene, supporters of the opposition candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye has rallied in the streets to rejoice over their candidate's early victories in Senegal's presidential election. Faye's victory is coming just a week after his release from prison, but his main rival from the ruling coalition insisted that a second round would be necessary to ascertain the winner. The winner will have to steer Senegal, viewed as a beacon of democracy in cool-hit West Africa, out of 3 years of turbulence and political crisis, and manage revenues from oil and gas reserves that are shortly to start production. Uncertainty remains over the outcome of the unprecedented vote, with official result not expected before the end of the week. An absolute majority is required for a first-round win. For weeks, President Joe Biden and his senior officials have been losing patience with the way that Israel is fighting the war in Gaza. They've used increasingly stiff language to convey their displeasure to Israel and the wider world. The decision to allow the latest ceasefire resolution through the Security Council shows that President Biden has decided that strong words are not enough. Removing diplomatic protection from Israel's conduct of the war is a significant step. It shows the depth of the rift that has opened between the White House and Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. The United Nations Security Council has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza after the U.S. did not veto the measure in a shift from its previous position. It also demanded the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. It is the first time the Council has called for a ceasefire since the war began in October, after several failed attempts. The move by the U.S. signals growing divergence between it and its ally, Israel, over Israel's offensive in Gaza. The Francis Scott Key Bridge in the U.S. city of Baltimore collapsed after a ship collided with it, the Maryland Transportation Authority said. 1,695 Key Bridge collapsed due to ship strike, the MTN posted on social media platform X, referring to the interstate highway. It urged drivers to avoid the route over the Patapsco River, which it called an active scene. Earlier, the MTA had said interstate lanes in both directions were closed due to an incident on the bridge and that traffic was being redirected. A police spokesperson from the Baltimore Police Department said the people were possibly in the river. Florida State Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill that will prohibit children younger than 14 from joining social media in the state. According to the reports, those who are 14 or 15 will need a parent's consent before they join a platform. The bill, HB 3, also directs social media companies to delete the existing account of those who are under 14. Companies that fail to do so could be sued on behalf of the child who creates an account on the platform. The minor could be awarded up to $10,000 in damages, according to the bill. The French Interior Minister has launched a multiple anti-drug crackdown reflecting the government's commitment to show itself serious about tackling the drug trade and crime in cities ahead of European elections. The French Interior Minister announced multiple nationwide anti-drug crackdowns reflecting the government's commitment to show its seriousness about tackling the drug trade and crime in the cities ahead of European elections. Interior Minister Gerard Darmanin said the police units conducted raids and made several arrests in the northern city of Lille. He said the authorities are going to multiply the operations that we have prepared for months to hit very hard. In business, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment has directed applicants of the Presidential Conditional Grant Scheme to submit their national identification numbers as part of necessary requirements to obtain a grant earmarked to cushion the effect that recent economic reforms had had on businesses in the country. The government, through the Bank of Industry, had said it would be disbursing 3 categories of funding totaling 200 billion naira to support manufacturers and businesses across the country. It said the new rule was based on the new regulations from the Central Bank of Nigeria, directing Nigerians to link their national identification numbers with their bank accounts. It added that only verified applicants will receive this notification and names must match the applicant's name for the process to proceed. The European Union, in continuation of its commitment to supporting the federal government in providing clean, affordable and sustainable energy for all, has introduced 2 new projects worth €9 million in Nigeria's energy sector. The EU disclosed this in Abuja during the project inception workshop organized in partnership with the federal government and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. With a population of over 200 million, had an electricity consumption per capita of 147 kilowatt hours in 2022, while South Africa, with a population of over 60 million, boasted of electricity consumption per capita of 3,500 566 kilowatt hours during the same period, according to the World Bank. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, the country's average per hour data stood at 3,689.700 megawatts in September 2023 as it continues to struggle with low power generation and poor distribution infrastructure. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has raised the monetary policy rate MPR, its benchmark interest rate, to 24.75%, representing 200 basis point increase from 22.75% in February. The CBN, however, retained the cash reserve revenue, CRR, of the commercial banks to 45%, but adjusted upward the CRR of merchant banks from 10% to 14%. The CBN also retained the liquidity ratio of banks at 30%. The Central Bank of Nigeria has disclosed that it will be allocating $10,000 to each bureau de change operator at 1,251 naira per dollar. This was contained in a circular made available and signed by the bank's Director, Trade and Exchange Department, Dr. Hassan Mahmoud. The Apex Bank directed each BDC to sell the dollars to eligible customers at a rate not exceeding 1.5% above the purchase price, implying that the BDCs are not expected to sell above 1,269 naira to a dollar. On July 27, 2021, the CBN discontinued the sale of the foreign exchange to BDCs, accusing them of trading forex wholesale amounts greater than $5,000 in contravention of their licenses and Nigeria's foreign regulations. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria revealed that it is proposing a memorandum of understanding with the United Kingdom's Financial Reporting Council that will allow its members to obtain audit qualification rights in the UK. In a statement, ICANN said that the move was premised on the fact that the accounting and audit practices have become global. If the proposed MOU between ICANN and FRC can engage in an audit in the UK, the idea was mooted during a visit to the UK Financial Reporting Council led by ICANN President Dr. Innocent Okwuosa as part of activities for the 11th ICANN UK International Conference. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Commandant General Special Intelligence Corps has uncovered a massive illegal oil refining site at a forest in Odagwa community in Echai local government area of Rivers State. The site comprises over 10 illegal refineries with an estimated 500,000 liters of crude oil contained in about 50 illegally constructed reservoirs. While 5 suspects engaging in illicit art were arrested, the spokesman for the NSCDC Rivers State Command, Olufemi Ayodele, disclosed this while parading the suspect and conducted newsmen around the site. The Federal Executive Council has approved the institutionalization of a 10% youth quota in all government appointments and an equitable young women representation. Dr. Jamila Ibrahim, Minister of Youth, disclosed this at the end of the 4th FEC meeting in Abuja. She said the council also approved the restructure of the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund and the revamping of the Youth Investment Fund. Kikelomo Okere has details.
The Minister of Youth says the quota will encourage young people to participate in decision-making process and in civic engagement.
We have received Council's approval to institutionalize a 30% youth quota, a 30% representation of young people in all government appointments, and an equitable young women representation inclusive of this 30%. Well, this will go a long way to address the long marginalization and exclusion of young people in decision-making, and will also go a long way to encourage young people to participate in decision-making processes and in civic engagements. This will in turn lead to young people, contributing tremendously to national development.
Meanwhile, FEC has approved the setting up of Infrastructure Fund to be known as Renewed Hope Infrastructure Fund. This followed a projection that Nigeria will require over $878 billion to bridge infrastructure deficit in the country.
Wisdom of Mr. President and magnanimity, so to say, of the Council that they've approved the establishment of Renew Hope Infrastructure Fund as the catalyst to actually drive our infrastructure agenda. So this innovative fund consolidates existing resources to drive economic growth and connectivity across sectors like transport, agriculture, aviation, and education, and other social.
The Federal Executive Council also approved the construction of 28 roads and bridges across the country worth over 1.2 trillion naira. The Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, says the projects were approved by FEC, having gone through the Bureau of Public Procurement and Certificate of No Objection secured. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The federal government confirmed the outbreak of ginger blight epidemic in 4 states in Nigeria, adding that ginger farmers have lost over 12 billion naira due to the disease. It disclosed this at the inauguration of the National Ginger Blight Epidemic Control Task Force in Abuja, and revealed that the fungal disease had inflicted significant damage on ginger farms in Kaduna, Nasarawa, Plateau, and the Federal Capital Territory. The Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Abdullahi, said the blight had caused billions of naira in losses, impacting not only the livelihood of farmers, but also Nigeria's position as the world's second largest ginger producer. The federal government has deducted over 415 billion naira from state government allocations for service their external loans. This was according to the data from the Federation Account Allocation Committee Disbursement Report published by the National Bureau of Statistics. The deductions were made between 2019 and 2023 from the allocations given to state government from the Federation Account. The Federation Account is currently being managed under a legal framework that allows funds to be shared under 3 major components: statutory allocation, value-added tax distribution, and derivation principle. The federal government has donated truckloads of grains to the Kano State government for distribution to the needy. The donation consists of 100 trucks of rice, 44 trucks of sorghum, and 4 trucks of maize. The donation arrived just as state government said it has begun an investigation into its ongoing Ramadan feeding program in the state. The state's Director General Media and Publicity, Sanusi Tofa, disclosed this to journalists in Kano. He said Dangote Foundation also supported the state with 120,000 10 kg bags of rice. Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, has mandated the redesign of the initial bypass for the second Niger Bridge due to flaws and overestimation in the initial design. He says the dumping of the initial design has saved the nation 300 billion naira. This is as the minister directed contractors working on federal road projects in the southeast and south-south regions to accelerate work while ensuring compliance with the contract specifications. In a statement by his media advisor Uchenna Oji, the minister disclosed the defective design of the second Niger Bridge bypass on March 24th while an inspection visit to the rehabilitation of the Enugu-Port Harcourt dual carriage section. And that's how we call it a wrap on the Global AM News. I am Anthony Momodu saying thank you for watching and see you again.